Now, the next speaker that we have is Divyam. Two things to tell you first. Divyam is the recipient of the 2013 Young Ham Wins Lends a Hand contest. He was last year's winner of that because of some community work that he did. And we're going to be announcing this year's winners as well. But Divyam comes from a very special group of people, the Bark Club in Colorado. Those of you who have been coming here year after year, you know there's always a sea of green hats that used to be sitting here. That's the Bark people, the Boulder Amateur Radio Club, supporting Bark Jr. They have trained hundreds and hundreds of young people to get ham licenses. That would be Ellie and Rip Van Winkle. And I cannot say enough about the support that I've gotten from that group for 24 years. They have brought youngsters to the Youth Forum, extremely well-trained. Talk about me nagging the kids. They meet weekly and then bi-weekly, and they're on top of it all. That's the kind of support that this young man was the beneficiary of this year. And unfortunately, they cannot be here with us anymore, but the support that they've given through the years absolutely deserves a noteworthy recognition. I know Ellie is waiting for the call as soon as you are finished. And so we're going to be sending them the DVDs, of course, so that they can see it too. And just so that they know, I would like, if you don't mind, a special round of applause, because I know that they will be watching it, for Ellie and Rip Van Winkle, who have done yeoman's jobs with young people. Okay, thank you. Divyam Mishra KD0OOE is 14 years old, and he's got the intriguing topic of ham radio and your heart at the same frequency. So let's see what this is all about. Divyam?
Thank you, Carol. So as Carol mentioned, my name is Divyam Mishra KD0OOE, and I realize there's a typo in my call sign, but all right, anyways. So I'm 14 years old, in 9th grade, and go to Peak to Peak, which is located in Lafayette, Colorado. I have an extra class license too. Today, I'm going to be talking about some amazing facts associated with radios and defibrillators. Although they seem like two completely unrelated and different devices, not only are they built using the similar technology, but are also used under the similar circumstances. So today in this presentation, we'll be talking about the basics of radios and defibrillators, their applications in the real world, and we'll be combining their usages in life-threatening situations. So now you must be wondering what these two big fat ugly circles are doing here. Well, these are the two things I love the most, components and construction. Why? Because everything in our world is built using components, such as our bodies and radios. So when I was young, I loved construction, and I used to build things like cities and airports and roads. You will be amused that I used to use components like CD cassettes, video cassettes, books, kitchen utensils, whatever I could find. And sometimes I used to build 8 to 9 hours straight without eating, drinking, going to the bathroom. Sometimes my father would say, "Hey, will you ever get out of that dungeon down there?" And I'd say, "Never, even if you drag me back up." And then I reached middle school and I joined a ham radio club called Bark Jr. Guess what? Bark Jr. gave me an access to more components, such as resistors, capacitors, diodes, and LEDs. But as you know, old habits die hard, so I kept on constructing cities and airports. Now, I'm in high school, and I have a certain interest in computer programming and web page designing. Do you still think I'm constructing airports? Nah, but now I'm constructing web pages. So as you can see, components have changed all throughout my life, but construction has remained to the core of my heart. I love construction. And in the future, I'd like to combine my knowledge of constructing and the components I've used in the past into one technology startup. So as most of us know, ham radio is a popular hobby in which licensed operators communicate amongst each other. Radios are built using basic electronic components and are used to transmit and receive electronic signals. They're used for many purposes, such as when in the movies when you hear the two soldiers saying, "Do you copy?" or "Roger, Roger." They're actually using radios for communications. Or even in emergencies when people scream, "Mayday, Mayday," or SOS. They're using Morse code and radios for emergencies. Or even when you're watching your favorite television show, broadcasters are using radio technology to broadcast that show of yours to your local TV set. Even in space explorations, spacecrafts use an autopilot mode, and astronauts need to communicate with scientists on Earth. You remember Lowell's famous statement from Apollo 13, "Houston, we have a problem," was delivered using radios. As most of us do not know, but ham radio itself is a popular social media network in which more than 2 million hams have found their own means of friendship. So what is a defibrillator? A defibrillator is a device which checks the heart fibrillation of a patient's heart. It is built using basic electronic components and is used to transmit and receive electronic flashes. Before the defibrillator was even invented, doctors had to inject powerful drugs directly into the heart. Ooh, gives me the creeps. But in the 1950s, doctors invented the defibrillator, in which is a common sight throughout hospitals in the world. In the 1960s, doctors invented the portable defibrillator unit, in which citizens like you and I could use in our households. They're accessible in public locations such as libraries or rec centers. They're usually mounted on the walls or accessible at reception desks. They're yet worn on the human body itself for patients that have a sudden risk for a sudden cardiac arrest at any second of their lives. Wear these devices 24/7. And yet, they're installed inside the human body next to the heart in the form of an ICD, or an implantable cardioverter defibrillator. It is commonly known as a pacemaker. So comparison. These two devices function in a similar manner, such as a radio transmits and receives electronic signals, while a defibrillator transmits and receives electronic shocks. They both are somehow connected wirelessly, such as when you communicate to your fellow friend across the world, you are not using wires, you're using the air. Same scenario with a defibrillator. A shock is not sent directly to the heart. In fact, the nerves in your body carry that shock to the heart. They both need to be tuned because without tuning a radio, you cannot dial to certain frequencies. In the same scenario with a heart, without tuning your heart, it cannot pump blood. They both transfer some sort of energy, such as radios transfer electronic signals and defibrillators are electronic shocks. They both are necessary in emergency situations, such as when normal means of communications or medical services are not available at the current moment. I thought this would be an interesting comparison, but as you can see, as the frequency increases, the wavelength decreases, and vice versa. Now this trend can also be seen in Mother Nature. As the size of the organism increases, the heart rate decreases, and vice versa. For example, the hummingbird, which is the size of my palm, has a stunning heart rate of 1,250, while a whale the size of this room has a slow heart rate of 6 beats per minute. Let me clarify that these are not two loving whales here. These are in fact two whales communicating via sonar. One day I sat down and looked at this picture, and I said to myself, isn't there some type of radio in our bodies that lets us communicate amongst each other? And then I said, isn't there some sort of defibrillator inside of our hearts that regulates our heart rates every second and every moment of our lives? And then I said, if these two devices are integrated in living things, why can't we integrate them in the real world? So we all go on our favorite adventure trip, whether it's skiing, snowboarding, or even rafting. But sometimes we fall into an emergency situation. So why can't we have a GPS-enabled radio defibrillator device which sends an emergency signal to first responders even before the affected patient even knows? And from there on, the first responders can send an ambulance unit to the GPS location. Now this idea doesn't necessarily have to be integrated outdoors, but it can also be integrated indoors. So why can't we have the same device connected through the local DSLR network or Wi-Fi network in which doctors can view and monitor their patients' data 24/7? And from there on, they can either tune the device from the hospital without the patient being physically present or send an ambulance unit to their home. So what's next? You remember components and construction? While in the future, I'd like to combine my knowledge of constructing and the components I've used in the past into one technology startup so I can save millions and millions of lives. I'd like to thank the following people: my parents, Swarna and Anshuman Mishra, who listened to this speech so many times that they can surely say it in their sleep. My mentor, Paula Bailey, who refined the content of this presentation. Rip, NV0M, and Ellie N0QCX, who gave me this opportunity of joining BARC Jr. and who supported me in this event. Carol, WB2MGP, who gave me this first-hand opportunity of going to the first convention of my life. And last but not least, all of you for being here and showing interest in my topic. Here are some additional resources in case you'd like more information about BARC Jr. or defibrillators. Thank you.
Awesome. In one word, awesome. I'm going to have all of the speakers just stand up so that you can acknowledge them today. These are the 6 speakers that we had today. If you guys would stand up, please. Okay.